The man you see in the reflection is not the man who chose this morning. He was chosen for it, by something that arrived before he opened his eyes. Before this watch is over, you will learn the name of the one discipline that every enemy has feared since the first garden. But first, you will stand in the ruin that proves why he has feared it from the beginning. The first thought of the morning was not yours. It was already waiting. You reach for the same thing your hand has reached for 1,000 mornings before. You say the same word to yourself. You feel the same low current running beneath the day, and you have learned to call it you. It is not you. It is the shape something has carved into you by walking the same road through your mind every day without resistance. The road is worn now. The feet that walk it are not yours. You move through the day like a man carrying something he never agreed to carry. You reach for the drink, the thought, the hungry glance, the sharp word, and each time you tell yourself the same quiet lie. This time I chose it. Something has been deciding for you, and you have been calling it freedom. Before this watch ends, 3 things will be placed in your hand. You will see why the reacting man is not a free man, but a captured one. You will see why the wall around your soul was not torn down by the enemy. It was abandoned by you. And you will see why the weapon that rebuilds the wall is not forged by your hand at all, and why the enemy has always feared it more than any blade in Scripture. You are not tired. You are occupied. So answer this. In the dark, where no one is watching, who has been dwelling in the halls of your mind? And why have you been feeding him at your own table? And from the silent weight of Solomon's wisdom, one line rises like smoke over a burning city. Whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down, without walls. Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 28. A city broken down, not besieged, not under assault, broken down already, and no one is even defending the rubble. That is what the man without self-control has become. Not a stronghold under attack, but an empty street where any thought, any desire, any whisper walks in and sits at his table and calls itself him. But a city does not lose its walls by accident. Someone left the gate, and in the next watch, you will meet the man who did. The wall did not fall. The watchman walked away from it, and he called his departure peace. There is a moment no man remembers clearly, but every man has lived. A moment when the gate was still standing, the watchman still posted, and something inside him whispered that the watch was too heavy to keep, that the discipline was cruelty against himself, that the restraint was a prison, and he believed it. He stepped down from the gate. He did not open it. He simply left it. He told himself he was free now, that he would decide in the moment, by feeling, by what felt right. He did not notice that the enemy did not need to break a gate no one was guarding. He only had to walk in. This is the root. The man without self-control is not a man who lost a war. He is a man who left his post and renamed it liberation. And the culture he lives in applauds the leaving. It calls the abandoned post authenticity. It calls the open gate honesty. It says, do what you feel, trust the first thought. And he obeys every voice that enters through the unguarded door, and he calls the obedience being himself. He is not being himself. He is being whatever walked in last. And from the mouth of a man who had seen heaven and walked in chains, a confession cuts through the comfortable noise. But I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest, when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified. 1 Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 27. Paul, the apostle, the man who had stood before kings and been struck blind by the living Christ. He speaks of discipline. He speaks of subjection, because he knew what the deserter forgets. The gate unguarded is not mercy to the self. It is betrayal of the self. The flesh was not given dominion. It was given a post beneath the spirit. And when the spirit walks off the wall, the flesh becomes the warden. The man who will not rule himself will be ruled. There is no neutral ground between the throne and the chain. But how does a man return to a post he has abandoned for 10,000 mornings? Not by force, not by will, by something older than either, a weapon the enemy has feared since the first garden. The weapon is not in your hand, and that is precisely why he cannot break it. Every discipline the world sells you is forged in the same furnace. Effort that is yours, will that is yours, grip that is yours. Wake earlier, eat less, endure more, clench harder, and for a season it works, and then it breaks. Because a wall built by the hands that abandoned the first wall is built on the same sand. But Scripture names another kind of weapon, not forged, grown, not taken up, given, not achieved, born, a fruit. Stop, now. In this silence, how many of your battles against yourself have been one part of you trying to overpower another part, while the gate stood just as open as before, only now with two exhausted soldiers fighting inside it? You cannot forge this weapon alone. It is given, and then it is carried. This is the discipline that only the given can practice. And in the long list of what the Spirit produces in the ground of a surrendered soul, the last word lands with the weight of a verdict. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. Galatians, chapter 5, verses 22 and 23. Self-control. Enkrataya, not the iron of your own teeth clenched against desire, but the slow, strange sovereignty that grows where the fighting has stopped alone. Against such, there is no law. No accusation reaches it. No chain binds it. No enemy holds dominion over it. And this is why the enemy has feared it from the first page. All his weapons work through the reaction. Every temptation is a hook that requires a mouth to bite it. Every accusation is a sword that needs a man running toward it. But the soul in whom the Spirit grows this fruit, he has received the pause, the space between the voice and the believing of the voice. And in that pause, the whole architecture of the enemy's war collapses. He cannot reach a man who no longer reaches back. This is the quiet authority of the restored watchman. He feels the hunger and is not the hunger. He stands at the gate again, awake, not angry, ruling. And now look up. Look at the city he becomes. The walls risen, the gate attended, the ruin that once stood there, standing. There is a city that the enemy has circled for years and never entered. It looks like a man. He walks the same streets he walked before. He breathes the same air, but nothing that approaches him owns him anymore. The thought arrives, and he watches it. The desire rises, and he names it. The accusation comes, and it finds no flesh to feed on. He is not louder. He is not harder. He is not performing strength. He simply no longer moves when he is not the one moving. And this is the soul the enemy cannot touch. And from the hand of a man in chains awaiting his execution, a final testimony rises like a banner over a restored wall. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7. A sound mind, not a calm mind, not a quiet mind. A mind that rules itself, a mind with walls, a mind with a gate, and a watchman who did not build that gate with his own hands, but stands upon it because the giver placed him there. Power, love, a sound mind. 3 weapons in one sentence, and the third is the one the enemy has always feared most. because it is the gate through which the other two pass without being wasted. If you are ready to stop being occupied, if you are ready to take back the gate that was never meant to be abandoned, enlist. Join the order. This is not a signal. This is a vow made in the dark, where no one is watching, that you will no longer be a city broken down. See it now, before this watch ends. A wall rising at the edge of what used to be rubble. Stone laid upon stone, not by the hand that failed, but through the hands that finally stopped fighting alone. A banner lifted above the gate, torn at the edges, scarred by every night the watchman had deserted it, but upright now. A figure stationed beneath the banner, helm down, sword sheathed, shield resting. Not because there is no enemy, but because he no longer needs to swing at every shadow that passes. The city behind him is quiet. Not because the war is over, because the war is no longer fought inside the streets. It is fought at the wall, and the wall is held. This is the soul the enemy circles and cannot enter. This is the weapon he has feared since the beginning. Not the blade, not the fire, the pause, the sovereignty, the sound mind. The watchman on the restored gate, refusing to move when he is not the one moving. Stand there, and when the morning comes, and the first thought arrives at your door and asks to be let in without giving its name, do not open, ask who sent it. And when it cannot answer, close the gate.